Welcome to the March Historic Resources Board meeting. Zoom webinar participation is available for members of the public. The Zoom webinar ID and link are available on the posted agenda on the city website. May we have a roll call, please?
One second. Roll call. Board Member Wadsworth.
Present.
Board Member Munoz. Board Member Collender.
Here.
Board Member Hirahara.
Present.
Board Member Shim. And Chair Maskai.
Present. Can we have staff introductions as well?
Yesenia Segovia, Assistant Planner.
And Grant Leonard, Planning Manager.
Okay, thank you. And we do have public comment time restrictions. Public is generally limited to 2 minutes per speaker. We're now open for public comments. Do we have anyone from the public who would like to speak?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Randy Hawkinson. I go by Hawk at the Monterey and Salinas Valley Railroad Museum. I got our packet last night from Denise Estrada, and
I'm sorry, I didn't make myself as clear as I should have. We do want to hear from you. It's very important. And this would be public comment period right now for non-agenda items. So if you'd like to speak about anything that's not on the agenda, now would be the time to do that. Otherwise, as we go through the agenda items, you'll be encouraged to participate in those.
cool, okay, great.
Thank you. Okay, we have our minutes from our last meeting. Are there any comments, corrections from any of the members? Looks like there are none. Can we have a motion to approve?
Second.
And can we have a vote, please?
Yes. Board Member Wadsworth.
Abstain.
Board Member Munoz. Yes. Board Member Collender.
Yes.
Board Member Hirahara.
Yes.
Board Member Shim. Yes. And Chair Maskai.
Yes. Okay, next, first item up is 26067, support for heritage tourism in the Salinas Intermodal Transportation Center. So the public speaks first?
No, we'll do staff presentation and a review by the board.
Okay, so staff presentation, please.
Well, good afternoon, members of the public and the board. Grant Leonard. Just a quick way of background on this item. This is a follow-up to a presentation we received from the California Welcome Center some months ago, and then last month we received a update on the existing conditions memorandum and the opportunities memorandum that city staff is preparing related to the ITC, the Intermodal Transportation Center. And as a follow-up to that, the board had selected a subcommittee to work on resolution of support for some of the proposals from the Heritage Park stakeholders and the Welcome Center. And with that, city staff worked with the subcommittee. We received a draft resolution last month. Here's a refined version of that resolution. And with that, I'll hand it off to the subcommittee for their update, if we can have Board Member Munoz and Board Member Hirahara give an update.
Go ahead, Sal, if you want to. I'll be next. Sal, do you have anything to add?
We receive a letter. We have received a letter from, to Michael Masgal and of course, Grant Leonard. And from Denise Estrada. And she has been working on this way, way, way back, and she's very knowledgeable about what's on the general plan and what we are doing with the, with the Heritage Park. I agree with her, even though our document that we have created from the subcommittee, it goes along what the city is suggesting to use on the proper, on the documents. And I see a little conflict on both. And why don't we discuss it and see how we can go with it? I agree with the city how it is, but then in the letter has opened, reminds us how it is already in the general plan. And so why don't we open that for discussion for us and see what we can get to it.
Okay. And Larry?
Reading the reformatting of the resolution or the topics that we put in there was very helpful. But I think it probably, in my opinion, it missed some of the points that we actually had wanted to go forward with. And so, I had a discussion with Grant also that, this resolution can also be edited or modified. And so some of the issues that were brought up, I think the one I'm primarily concerned about, which I wish to add to it, is that a recommendation that the name of the city properties from the freight depot to the Harvey House, or the first mayor's house, be named the Salinas City Heritage Park. But it needs to be in compliance with the city naming policy, because there is policy involved. But hopefully that'll create a situation where everybody is on the same page, realizing that there has to be an ask about the naming policy itself. But this is our recommendation because we think it's, in our opinion, I think it's gone on a bit too long. So let's resolve this.
Yeah.
I support that recommendation, and if it needs to be a second, I make that second.
I think we're just going to add it to this resolution if we want to pass this resolution today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other ones I think are, and it's probably not in a resolution format, but the idea of what the details about the expansion of the space in the freight depot. I think that's an update that needs to be brought forward. It's not. I don't think it's probably appropriate to be part of the recommendation.
What was that?
Well, we had a question about the train depot. The Welcome Center wanted to expand, and there was some question about that. Why they couldn't expand in there, because Ariel Theater was in there, or is in there. So I think from our perspective, there hasn't been a clear explanation of that.
As to
Why?
why they can't
Yeah.
be allowed to expand.
Or why, yeah, right, why isn't there an expansion? Myself personally, I don't think I've had that question answered.
Just out of curiosity, has Craig
Hoffman?
Hoffman seen this resolution in this form? Has he been consulted with this resolution in this form?
I think it was just a part of the agenda.
I
I
think
don't think
that,
it's been distributed publicly, no.
right. So
You're right.
my thoughts about this proposal is, it's disappointing because the 6 points that the subcommittee asked that the city respond to really hasn't happened. So it's nice to do this quick rewrite to move it forward, but I don't think it's specific enough. And if the board and the public would like to hear the 6 points that the subcommittee asked to receive responses from the city, I'm happy to review those again. And here they are. So the first is, while staffing issues can be a challenge, and the understanding that the city has a process to follow, creating what appears to be barriers or lack of transparency for the promotion of heritage tourism should not be part of that. Second, consultant did not finish the project, so tenants bear the burden of lack of direction. Finish the master plan report as quickly as possible and give a timeline for the completion so tenants can plan. 3, with the understanding that the delayed ITC master plan is creating a problem with some of the tenant marketing and promotion plans, the city should give a clear and transparent explanation of the process causing delays in the naming process. In lieu of a final report or details of the naming process, approved designation of the tenant area as Heritage Park or possibly a declaration of Heritage Park at IMTC or whatever transit name is desired, center. 4, give a detailed explanation for lack of space available for expansion at the train depot for the historic district as requested as part of the ITC master plan. 5, clearly define responsibility of signage, both type and cost of materials. 6, the city can support heritage tourism by encouraging tenants to promote the area and create standards for local high visibility promotion. For example, a better Amtrak sign, as well as develop an agreed upon promotion and signage program, particularly who is responsible for funding it and how are they to be displayed. So some of these topics are mentioned in this resolution, but I don't think enough thought's gone into this, and I think the subcommittee should receive some response to their questions. Any comments or thoughts about that? Eloise?
I have a comment about it. I myself think that it's a bit confusing to have 2 different names. I guess it's named the ITC in the general plan, isn't it? It's referred in the general, yeah. And to add another name, it seems confusing somewhat. Like people might think, well, is that a different entity? And I know the county has an ITC now. They have a board, a subcommittee for the ITC, the Board of Supervisors. So I'm just wondering, you know, with all these different names, if it's going to be, you know, more confusing. And I think the point of the resolution is to make things clearer, you know, to make the things that they want to accomplish over there clearer. And I think the naming, Salinas Heritage Park, it might, in the minds of the public, they might think, well, now Salinas Heritage Park is another entity from the ITC. And, you know, I don't know. For me, a little, I'm concerned about that aspect of it.
Any other comments or thoughts? Michael?
I would just ask the committee, subcommittee, when you look at this as presented, do you disagree with any of this, or is this okay? It just doesn't go far enough, kind of in your opinion?
I don't disagree with anything that's on there. I just don't think it goes far enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
Public now.
Correct, Chair. If there's no other board conversation at this point, you can go to the public for general public comment.
So any public members who would like to discuss this?
Thank you all. I wasn't really prepared to say anything. First Mayor's House, they were talking about having the piece that Denise Estrada put out with my packet here. I think you probably already have. I don't see why I would need to read it.
Are you referring to the letter that she wrote?
Yes, sir.
I think it would be good for you to read that, so those who are participating in Zoom will have full transparency. The public will know exactly what this response is from Denise.
Okay. I mainly wanted to show up and just.
And I have a copy if you don't
Okay.
have one.
I've got it here. I just was more interested in learning who was who in the zoo. I took over as president in October, and I got this, and I thought, I didn't hear anybody else wanting to come to it, so I thought, I'm the president, I better be there. But if that's what you want me to do, I'm more than happy to do it.
Yeah, just the letter that Denise couldn't be here
Yes.
today, and this way everything will be presented. And if your microphone isn't on, or if you need to be closer to it,
Okay.
great.
Yeah, I forgot my hearing aids. I can't hear a word you're all saying either. Okay, dated 29 February 2026 to the Historic Resources Board. Subject, report, resolution, support of heritage tourism at the Salinas Intermodal Transportation Center. I'm writing this letter to be read as a public comment at the Historic Resource Board meeting of 2 March 2026 for the consent item ID number 26-011, as I am unable to attend the meeting in person or by Zoom. The first draft resolution that was prepared by the board subcommittee contains specific items that need to be addressed by the city of Salinas in support of furtherance of heritage tourism programs in the historic heart of Salinas at a site that the stakeholders have branded Salinas City Heritage Park. Heritage tourism is required within the current general plan and the vibrancy plan, so resolving to support heritage tourism is already a requirement and should not be necessary to restate the new resolution. What is missing and long overdue is the city's engagement in a public-private partnership to build this economic opportunity for Salinas. The redrafted resolution and staff report of 2 March 2026 prepared by city staff lacks acknowledgement of the extensive work that has already been completed with significant public outreach. Instead, the report states that that a city manager's office and economic development team will lead implementation of near-term activation strategies, including branding and naming, improved signage, and enhanced amenities. Experience has shown that the city involvement to achieve the needed work at Salinas City Heritage Park, if tied to the finalization of yet another round of work on the ITC master plan is likely to once again drag on for too long. The city has been absent during the work to build on this economic opportunity question. I acknowledge and applaud the positive engagement of the city, of the Salinas Historical Resource Board in promoting heritage tourism and historic preservation. I encourage the HRB to be assertive in your recommendation power to the City Council. Commuter rail service is coming. Really? Commuter rail service is coming, okay. Delayed action to enhance tourism is an economic opportunity lost. I recommend that the HRB rejects this resolution as drafted and instead recommend to the council the action items that will help to achieve greater success. 1, approve the naming of the site, Salinas City Heritage Park. 2, provide signage that will provide wayfinding, site information, and will enhance the promotion of the site. 3, support the expansion of the footprint of the California Welcome Center's area into the remainder of the building to allow for additional tourism opportunities. 4, the city must engage in meaningful public-private partnership to provide for a quality site for tourism and transportation amenities in the historic heart of Salinas. Respectfully submitted, Denise Estrada, SVTVB Regional Advisory Board Member, First Mayor's House.
Thank you for doing that.
Can't comment on anything other than that, except the expansion in the old freight house. Craig wants to make that into the prior to the De Anza expedition through here and make it more of a museum. I volunteered for the Children's Museum, so I know what's in that building. Don't know where you want to go with that. It's not my gig. Our thing right now is just to make sure that the place doesn't get burned down by the folks in the area trying to stay warm this winter. If there's anything else you would like me to comment, a suggestion, because otherwise, like I said before, I wasn't prepared to say anything.
No? Okay, no.
Okay.
Thank you for responding.
Glad to meet you all. Thank you.
So I'll let the subcommittee move forward with this.
Sure, if I may, we do have a public commenter on Zoom with a hand raised.
Oh, good.
Good afternoon, this is Peter Cassavan. Can the board hear me?
Yes.
Thank you for allowing me to speak. And I'd like to, just a couple comments. I support the board's comments that this is just a start and this is not really a complete master plan. The resolution in the second whereas refers to a Intermodal Transportation Center master plan prepared by Harris and Associates. I didn't see that attached anywhere to the agenda, so I want to know where that is, and if you're acting on that, are you in alignment with that? In the support document, in the last paragraph, the report says that on February 2nd, the city welcomed the HRB and public to comment on the draft ITC existing conditions and draft ITC opportunities memorandums. I commented on that at your last meeting and felt that it was not a serious document. The city then goes on to say they anticipate finalizing both documents in the spring of 2026. So that would be, my recommendation, I think, require authentic community engagement, which is required by the general plan. So I'll just wrap that up. First of all, one, I support the board comments regarding its lack of completion. I support the comments of Denise Estrada. I support renaming the area the Heritage Park as a replacement to ITC because of the sort of what it projects in terms of the value. And then fourth, again, any opportunities memorandum master plan should be required to go through authentic community engagement. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Don's next. So we have another Zoom comment.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. This is Don Larson. I'm on the on the board of the First Mayor's House, and have been involved in historic planning or historic preservation in Salinas for a long time and grew up there. I support Denise's comments, and we really are wasting time by playing around and not going ahead with this name change, because people driving by there really don't know what's down there, and this new name change will help get people to all of the historic resources and open house and welcome center, et cetera, and railroad museum that's down there. So I support her comments and hope that your commission will go ahead, or board will go ahead and make changes to the resolution and pass it. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Back to the board. How about the subcommittee? Or it looks like Eloise has something.
So I myself, I didn't receive the letter from Denise before we were supposed to make a decision on this. So, and really, I have to say, I was not aware that there was this idea about renaming the Salinas City Heritage Park away from, the ITC. So, and also, I was aware about the signage and the, lack of space and the seemingly lack of support from the city for the Welcome Center, but I wasn't aware of this idea about, and also extending the Welcome Center, but I wasn't aware of this idea about the investment, the public-private investment. And I think the two things about the public and private investment and the renaming are sort of large ideas that should be, they should be thought about and given to the public, because I as a board member, I wasn't unaware of it, so I'm sure that the public is unaware of it. And I think that the public needs to weigh in on this before there's any kind of resolution made. Because, and also, the committee, the subcommittee was supposed to prepare a draft, but I never saw a draft. And then suddenly now, we have a resolution. So it just seems like there's not enough, there's just not enough, I don't know exactly what the word is, but.
Transparency.
Yeah, transparency. I don't want to say that people are trying to hide things and, not be transparent, but I'm just saying there's just not enough kind of thinking about this as a whole concept and getting the input from the community about it. Because as a board member, I didn't know a lot of things that are being proposed here. And if I don't know, I'm sure that the public doesn't know. So I think there needs to be more sort of engagement with the public before we, and have like a draft that we really agree on here at the board before we come up with a resolution.
Subcommittee members?
I'll comment that Sal and I made this draft, I think in December?
Yes.
It was completed in December in a draft notice and was forwarded to the department. And at that time, it was hopefully imminent that they were going to have the report back from the Harris Consulting, and that it would probably be appropriate to work both of those at the same time, and come up with a, something that was compliant with both issues. And so I think that's maybe, because I didn't think it was, we should have given staff the opportunity to review it and not necessarily just distribute it generally. But that wasn't the case. So, and now it's in a form of resolution, which format-wise and content-wise, I have no problem with, except for the lack of maybe some action items. And certain action items I think are not necessarily appropriate for a resolution. So that's why I think that the resolution itself creates, I think, enough information that we can go forward with probably two of the major topics that are on that particular, or maybe a desire from the public about what to be done.
Sal?
The resolution is a way to let the public know what's happening at the transportation center. It will be a public hearing, and everybody can go and have your a say, and it will be open to the public, and that's the way the resolutions are enacted by the city council. We, as an HRB, we make recommendations, but they make the decisions, and the public, supports normally what is best for the city, especially for this, the ITC.
So I have a question. The third whereas mentions the ITC master plan is still in progress, and completion of the plan along with a clear timeline will assist tenants and stakeholders in planning, marketing, promotion, and operational activities. So what's the next specific meeting or step that is being taken to continue this discussion and moving forward?
Correct. So the next step is to finalize the memos that were presented last month, as one of the public commenters noted. So we do need to do more public engagement on that. We had the first HRB meeting last month. We're having this meeting today on this specific topic. So scheduling more community outreach during this month, and as we stated before, we hope to wrap that up this spring, so between March, April, and May to wrap it all up with community engagement, finalize those opportunities and existing condition memos, and then this resolution for the board.
So it sounds like May or June is a likely timeline then for moving forward with this?
Correct. That's right.
And in the meantime, will the 6 points that were brought up by the subcommittee be responded to, and we'll have answers and have clear direction as to what's going to happen with those questions?
Yes, so this is something we worked or had some conversations with the subcommittee about. Some of these items are addressed in the memos, and then the topic really for the board to consider is what do you want to elevate from those memos into this resolution, which is presented as a draft today, so you could talk about it openly. And then happy to incorporate any edits that the board wants and then bring it back in a future meeting.
So it would be brought back to the board as a resolution. It would be a rewritten resolution, assuming that's what the board wants. Okay? Any other comments?
Question.
Michael?
This would be a question for Grant. Is the master plan needing to be completed, is that a reason to hesitate from allowing the Welcome Center to expand into the building? Is there something about the master plan that would object, you think, to that use of the building?
No, and this was something that was covered last month. Our assistant city manager, Lisa Murphy, was here, and she commented on the current lease agreements the city has for the rental of that space, and then also the process for renaming. And both of those move forward independently of any of the planning process.
Okay. Larry?
You know, I think this resolution maybe doesn't cover all of this, but I think we've, you know, in my opinion, I think that we've waited quite a long time, and so I think we need to, I would recommend that we take action, and then we can continue to expand, unless you want to have a perfect document. Sorry about that. So that, you know, I'm ready to try to take action, to try to move forward on at least several topics on this.
Michael?
Subcommittee members would, having listened to Denise Estrada's list of concerns, are there any of those that you could think we could add to this list today that would make sense, or do you need to see it come back to the committee again?
Yeah, I'd like to see this document modified before voting on it. If we want to do that today, fine. If we want to wait until next time, fine. But I want to see some modification.
Yeah, if I may, I think from a operational perspective, it makes sense to have your recommendations for any new whereases or any new therefores that would be added to the resolution, and then we can write those up and bring it back in the next meeting.
That's fine.
Well, I don't know if I'm missing it, but I don't see anything on this resolution that states clearly that they want to change the name to ITC, from ITC to Salinas City Heritage Park.
Well, that was my recommendation,
It needs to be added.
as an add-on, the modification of it.
Oh, okay.
So that was my one addition to that, so.
But also, we don't, there hasn't been any, again, there hasn't been any community engagement about this. Has there?
Well, I think there was with Harris and Associates. Now, the quality of that engagement could be discussed, or lack of, but I think there has been. And I think the naming of the park, it's a name we've heard of before. It's already being currently branded that way. And if you ask the public, would you tell me where ITC Park is? I think no one would be able to tell you. If we have a branded name, again, it doesn't have to be Heritage Park, but it kind of makes sense. Oh yeah, I know where that is. ITC is a very vague acronym. It means nothing. It'll never tell you where it is. You need to have some pizzazz, some color, something to market. You know, yes, it's a transportation hub, and we want to use it that way. You know, and it will be used that way even better once the trains are rolling and Amtrak is really promoting their products. So you can actually buy tickets there with a kiosk and connect to your next place you want to go from there. So I think it's inevitable that it has to be renamed. It has to be identified so the public knows what it is and where it is. So I think if the board agrees with this, or we can certainly eliminate one or two of them, but it would be great to have the resolution rewritten incorporating, where possible, the 4 ideas that are in Denise's letter. And then we see the newly written resolution, and we can always take something off, or, oh no, that's not good enough, whatever. Perfection, we're not looking for perfection. We're just looking to move forward so everything is addressed.
Yeah.
But also, I would like to say that with regard to the general plan, it's the name of this entity is ITC in the general plan, right? In the general plan? Okay, so I would propose, just for clarity's sake, that in the general plan, if we do agree to rename it, which it sounds like everybody wants to rename it, that there be some kind of parentheses in the general plan next to it saying formally known as the ITC, so that people aren't thinking, okay, we have 2 entities.
Right, so that's something, once the revised resolution is written, city staff will anticipate that need, and it'll be specified in the way it's rewritten.
Yes.
So,
I'm kind of thinking about the title. This is a technical title, essentially. It's a transportation center. So for the purposes of these documents, it was perfectly fine. But now we're at another point. We're looking for a whimsical, attractive title for tourism, and a technical term saying it's a transportation center is probably not that.
no, it isn't.
Yeah.
So Sal,
I see the Heritage Park to be sort of like a Golden Gate Park. Golden Gate Park has a lot of venues, and it has its own names and its own identities. So we have the Heritage Park, and we can have the ITC within the Heritage Park.
and a number of cities have heritage parks, and frequently it's, oh, we don't want to demolish that building, what do we do with it? So they move it somewhere, city land, or maybe a resident, a citizen donates the land, and little by little you have a few sometimes amazing examples of architecture that were saved, and it's known, and the area is known as Heritage Park. So it's not a new concept. And we already have the first mayor's house having been moved there. We have the Central Park trains being moved there, as well as one from Monterey. So it's not an unusual name for it. So moving forward, do we want to have a motion in a second asking that we receive a rewritten resolution attempting to coordinate the 4 suggestions in Denise's letter, as well as our comments, and mainly, so it sounds like the resolution frame is encouraged. Most of the people like that. It's just not enough, and we're trying to get everything mentioned in this, not too specifically, but enough that we can move forward with it and approve it. So do we have a motion to that effect?
Do we need a motion for that?
I don't think we
Just send it
do.
back to staff, right?
Or do we just go back to you then, or?
So, looking at the agenda, it's agendized as a motion item to approve the resolution. So we would want to make a motion to return next month with any edits, just for
Refer
clarity.
back.
So Sal, are you moving that? Okay, and second?
I'll second.
All right, so there's our second. Can we have a vote, please?
Can I make one comment, please? Looking at these 4 particular items, I think there'll probably be some discussion about necessarily incorporating all of them specifically, because there may be some discussion about that, so.
And some of them might be slightly covered already in what we were presented today. So it's kind of a merging of the two.
Comment.
Right,
Thank you.
okay. So can we have a vote?
Yes, you can. Board Member Wadsworth,
Yes.
Board Member Munoz.
Yes.
Board Member Collender.
Yes.
Board Member Hirahara.
Yes.
Board Member Shim.
I'm going to say no just because I think that, you know, renaming something is a big deal. And also this idea about the investment aspect of it, the economic aspect of it, separating it from transportation and Heritage Park. For me, it seems like too fuzzy to kind of make a decision. So I'm sorry, but I'm saying no.
Hey, follow your conscience. It's all right.
And Chair Mazgai.
Yes.
Okay.
So the resolution passes, so then in the future, we'll see a revised resolution. Next, Historic Structures Report for 3739 Soledad Street.
Correct. So happy to give an update today on the city's work at the Republic Cafe and Lotus Inn, 37 and 39 Soledad Street. And as you know, we've been undertaking a rehabilitation and renovation project at that site as part of the city's ongoing Chinatown revitalization efforts. And with us today is our consultant, Lindsay, who has worked very hard on a historic structures report for both 37 and 39 and is here to present the findings of that report.
Thank you. Could we make the presentation full screen? Thank you. Good afternoon, board members. Thank you for having me here. It's nice to be back to present our continued work in the Chinatown neighborhood. I'm Lindsay Motor. I'm a preservation architect and associate at TEF Design based in San Francisco. So as Grant mentioned, we just finished wrapping up the historic structure report for 3739 Soledad Street. That's Republic Cafe and the Lotus Inn. And I'm also going to give you a quick project update on our other work. I'm also project manager for the emergency stabilization and the planned rehabilitation of this building. Next slide. So I'll walk through the historic structure report findings, the emergency stabilization, the scope of the rehabilitation, and then walk you through the design schedule. Report findings first. Go ahead. So as a reminder, this subject property is located near the corner of Market Way and Soledad Street in Chinatown. It is adjacent to the Victory Mission and across the street from the former Ars Pool Hall, 38 Soledad Street, which burned down last year. 45 Soledad Street, another historic structure at the corner, is also no longer extant. So these buildings, 37 to 39, I'll refer to it as one building. They were constructed separately, but have a party wall that essentially makes them one building. So 3739 was recognized as a resource in the 1989 City Architectural Survey. In 2011, the Republic Cafe 37 was listed in the National Register of Historic Places for its local significance for criterion A1. And for whatever reason, 39 was not evaluated at that time. So TEF was asked to complete a historic structures report in 2025, and we reevaluated the significance for both 39 and 37. This includes additional significance criteria under the CRHR and NRHP. So the evaluation criterion, as you might know, include 4 categories. A1 is association with historic events. B or 2 is association with significant people in the community. Criterion C or 3 is association with significant architects or specific architectural design or construction. And D or 4 really applies mostly to archaeological resources that have the potential to give important information about past or history. So a quick update on our findings. I'll start with Lotus Inn. It was constructed first by Charles E. Buettner, designed for Wallace Attai and Bao Chin in 1941. We did find that this is eligible for listing in the National Register of Historic Places individually for local significance. This is again for criterion A1, its association with cultural heritage in the neighborhood, and C3 for the architecturally distinctive example of Chinese and Spanish Revival architectural style, and also association with prominent local architect Charles E. Buettner. 37 Soledad Street was previously only listed under A1. We still find that it is eligible under A1, but also for its association with Wallace Attai Sr. and Lily Attai. That's the association with local prominent figures. So our research did document them as prominent community members and entrepreneurs, and that they were significant to the local community and Chinatown. Criterion C3, again, this is the building from the front facade reads as one building, so it's also architecturally significant for the Chinatown style. So we did define character-defining features for the building exterior in general. We have the rectangular shaped plan. It does have multiple light wall shafts that bring light down into the second and first floors of the building. Its overall massing. It's created, it's an interesting construction of perimeter board form concrete walls and then wood infill at the front facade. It has painted stucco exterior at the west facade. It does have a stepped roof line at the rear, some skylights at the roof, and the window locations and openings. Next. So it's primarily significant at the front facade. That's where many of the character-defining features are. If you had a chance to look at the presentation, I did put a diagram together because there's quite a few. We have significant signage, both the Mi Cantina sign that's extant and the restored Republic Cafe Chop Suey sign. The layout of the facade in general with the storefront and the tile bulkhead, the pedestrian entries, the upper floor with the recessed alcove, the Chinese-inspired metal railings, and the windows and doors. There's also a pent roof with a clay barrel tile roof. Character-defining features at the interior are a little less intact, but still there nonetheless. At 37 Soledad Street, the Republic Cafe side, the first floor restaurant is still legible as that space. Many of the actual features have been removed. It has the first floor space, the mezzanine, partially, there's many different levels in this building, so a partial mezzanine, and the staircase up to the mezzanine. There's a dumbwaiter associated with that mezzanine, roof access from the third floor. I don't think I need to go through all of these specifically, but just to say that there are some at the interior. Go ahead. 39, again, also in rough shape, but the first floor bar is extant. We're currently still determining whether it could be salvaged and reused as part of rehabilitation, but we do feel that it is a defining feature of that space. It is purportedly the longest bar in Salinas, which was interesting to hear. That hasn't been substantiated, but interesting little fact. And at the second floor, there was a double-loaded corridor where there was previously boarding rooms. Oh, good. So the Secretary of Interior standards, as you know, defines 4 treatment approaches for the treatment of historic resources. It's preservation, restoration, rehabilitation, and reconstruction. So we've defined 3 treatment approaches for this building that we feel are appropriate. For the front west facade, again, where those primary character-defining features are, we recommend restoration. For the overall building, we recommend rehabilitation, and this is to provide badly needed maintenance to kind of preserve and repair the extant character-defining features. And then for future work, we also recommend rehabilitation. This provides a little more flexibility for continued reuse of that structure. So if it needs to be adaptively used for different uses in the future, that is possible. So to walk through the building conditions, it is in pretty rough shape. There was a fire in October 22 towards the front of the building at the west facade that's damaged a lot of the framing, and it is a structural hazard at this point, a fall hazard. So it has been fenced off. You can go to the next slide. At the interior, many of the actual finishes have been stripped, so it's primarily open stud framing. You can still see there's the curved cove of the ceiling at the restaurant here. So some of those features you can get a sense of, but primarily just the wood framing. The second floor, the second floor apartment is still extant. All of the partition walls are still there. Some of these arched openings, you can see that there's a historic stair with a baluster still in place. The roof is in pretty bad shape. Again, the fire was along that whole west facade all the way up to the roof, so there is damage of the roof framing members themselves. 39 interior, there are more intact historic finishes, but neglect have wreaked havoc. Most of them are falling down, may have mold. There is lead in the paint, and poor shape overall. This is the second floor. Of course, vandalism, break-ins, people occupying animals, everything you could think of for a neglected building is evident here. And the roof of 39 is in worse shape. It was not, so there was I failed to mention that there was a effort to re-roof and make the building watertight, the 37 side. I believe it was 2013. So you see a big difference between the previous roof photo and this one. This side was not re-roofed in 2013, so it's in much worse shape. So we do have some recommended additional investigations. And I wrote this report as though there was no work being planned on the building, just because that's what an HSR should do. So luckily, all of these will be addressed in the work that we are currently undertaking. It's really critically important that the building become watertight and that those structural collapse hazard be remediated as soon as possible so that the building can remain standing. So that's both at the floor and the west facade. We highly recommend that a fire sprinkler be installed at this building. We saw that 38 recently burned down. The neighborhood and the unhoused population. I think someone else mentioned before, they're trying to keep warm and fires get started. So we highly recommend that. The windows were difficult to fully investigate. They require a little bit more conditions assessment to understand if they could be rehabilitated. There are a number of light well shafts that appear to have drainage, but it's unclear how they drain. So we're looking into that with a contractor, figuring that out and documenting the condition of those drain lines to make sure they can be reused. And that pipe investigation is the next one, is in part of that, the light well. And optionally, we could do a paint analysis to understand specifically the historic paint colors used on that west facade. So the emergency stabilization is underway. We are set to submit permits to the city, permit application to the city the end of March. So the city, with Grant's help, has brought on a contractor to clear out all the detritus in the building, get rid of fleas, do hazardous material abatement, and it's currently ongoing. So it's been helpful to have that work done. So our scope of work for the emergency stabilization, again, is as those first investigations that I recommended. We need to bring the front facade, the floor framing, and the roof framing up to stable condition to keep this building standing. We will be installing a fire sprinkler system, and we will be making the building watertight. I wanted to make it clear that this is emergency stabilization, so we don't currently have funding to bring the building back to its once former glorious condition. And the building will look worse before it gets better. for the time being. You know, we will rebuild the front facade, but we won't necessarily spend the money to reinstall the clay tile roof or put all the stucco back on. That will be completed with the rehabilitation. So the areas that I outlined in orange are areas we know that we will see drastic change. We do have a wood science technologist coming on board to help us understand the extent of the wood framing damage, and he may tell us that even more needs to be rebuilt, which would mean you would see more, essentially more plywood on this facade at the end of the stabilization. So the rehabilitation work is also ongoing. We recently presented our concept design to the community stakeholders, and they appreciated our work and are in agreement with us, so we will be moving into schematic design. The scope of work includes a full facade restoration per the Secretary of Interior standards. We will be providing new utilities to the building, laterals, and core and shell work to essentially make it ready for tenants to move in. They would need to rehabilitate this place themselves and then move in. So the proposed uses include the use for the Asian Cultural Experience of Salinas Museum at the 37 Soledad site, the first floor, the mezzanine, partial second floor, and the third floor. And then the 39 Soledad, the Lotus Inn, that will be some sort of commercial use. We think we will provide a kitchen for potential cafe use. But it could also be another commercial tenant, like office, or trying to make it as adaptable as possible. Yeah. The rear of the second floor, again, the mezzanine is a museum use. Go ahead. The second story apartment on 37 will remain an apartment, so leasable. And then at the second floor of 39, again, we're leaving this open for a tenant to come in and tell us how they would like to use it. So it remains primarily open. This is really more of a rehabilitation of the existing walls and light wells that are there. So not much proposed to change. And then we do have the third floor penthouse level of 37, which also will be the museum use. And here is our rendering of the facade restoration. We did spend quite a bit of time with the historic photos to make sure that we are getting the proper orientation and location and sizes of those historic components. Many are still extant, but may need to be replaced in kind. So. I spoke a little bit about the schedule as I was going along. As I mentioned, the emergency stabilization is full steam ahead, submitting for permit very soon. We are moving into schematic design for the rehabilitation. Following approval of that, we will move right into construction documents to also submit that for permit and then await funding. And that's it.
Thank you for that presentation. Are you open to questions as well?
Of course, yes.
So any board members have any comments or questions?
I have a comment. This particular exterior rendering, I was just so pleasantly surprised to see that it will look like it did before. The prior sort of planning from I guess the time when they had the CSUMB service learning, and they had a plan for it didn't look at all like the building, and now the exterior does look, in terms of just the structure and the color and everything. It's like, okay, this is the Republic Cafe. So I was really pleased to see that. And yeah. And I was also wanting to comment about the curved Cove, it seems like in that building, it's less precarious in terms of being able to be a viable structure for the reconstruction. And the other one, it didn't seem to have as much, it wasn't as stable. This one doesn't look as stable in terms of being able to reconstruct it. But, you know, I'm glad to see that at least one of them has that. And that curved cove is just very unique. I mean, it's something wonderful, you know, that you don't see in construction anymore. So anyway, thank you.
And I'll say that the interior photo of 39, I think you were commenting on, it looks pretty rough. There has been clean out of that, and they're removing all the finishes, so it will, except for the stools and the bars, but it will look much better. And so I think it's still in a state that we can rehabilitate. Yeah.
The second floor apartments, are there bathroom facilities existing there or
There
planned?
is, it's quite small, so we've proposed to enlarge it to make it more in keeping with today's standards.
There's
Yeah.
a communal bathroom? Is that what?
Oh, no, oh, you mean which side? Sorry,
The apartment, I don't know the number.
Sure,
but
sure, yeah.
39.
There was one apartment, single residence for the Atais. And like I said, it was for the family use, and it was just a smaller restroom. The 39 side, this side for the boarding rooms, there was a series of smaller rooms. It was like a toilet room and then a shower room. We won't keep those. It will be a communal use restroom, like an all gender or with however many fixtures required by code.
So a couple of comments, at least online, that looked like a watercolor that was done. So is it actually a watercolor?
It's a rendering done with 3D modeling software, and then you apply
Software, okay.
you apply a
Because it's very well done. I went, oh my God, that
thank you.
looks like a watercolor.
yeah.
On the north side, so next to 37, we see this swell kind of garden ambiance. Is that kind of the plan, or is that just to soften this? Is it eventually going to have another building for housing?
I think it's not currently in our scope, and I think maybe Grant could address. I can speculate, but maybe you know more.
Yeah, this is for just the purposes of this rendering.
Yeah.
That property is not owned by the city. We're not currently planning for it. However, overall TEF's work at this property and across the street and at the end of the street, they have, sort of envisioned this as an opportunity for sort of a town square or town garden type area for the neighborhood. And so that is included in their renderings. But just to clarify, the city doesn't own the property and we're not officially planning for it. It's just a concept.
Okay. So unlike some of the other projections we've seen, 37, 39 will remain a two-story building. There's no in the back jumping up or anything. It's going to be, the footprint's going to be pretty much the same.
Correct, no changes.
Okay, good. The temporary fire sprinkler system that needs to happen, since we know what has happened in the past
Right.
here. I'm just curious, I don't know much about such things. Even though it's temporary, is part of it then adapted to become permanent down the road, or do we start all over again to make it permanent?
Correct. So we installed a new fire water lateral, which will be sized sufficiently for the building. It's NFPA compliant 13, NFP 13 compliant system installed, and then it can just be reconfigured. So, you'll be adding ceilings. You would want different type of fixture heads. You would want them concealed and not just floating out in space, for example, below the ceiling. So yeah, it will need to be reconfigured for the rehabilitation, but that is feasible.
Okay.
Yeah.
Has your group, or you, before you belonged to this group,
Yeah.
converted spaces for museum use? And if so, where?
Yeah, I personally have not been involved in a museum. TEF has worked with the Presidio of San Francisco, and I believe the Officers Club there, one of the principles of our historic preservation practice, worked on that, which is a museum space.
I didn't quite hear where in San
The
Francisco?
Presidio Officers Club at the Presidio of
Oh,
San
yeah.
Francisco.
Okay, I know
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
And were there several meetings with ACE and other members for their input, what they would like to see for the museum and layout, and what is actually in their collection needs to be displayed, and all this kind of thought process, and traveling shows? Larry, is that something you want to?
I can let Larry speak to that. So as part of this particular project, we have had 2 meetings with the community stakeholders, which includes representatives from the ACEs. And they gave some feedback, but we've also been working separately with ACEs directly on that effort. Larry, you want to speak to that?
Yeah, well, ACES has a design team, and they're working with TEF, and they came up with 2 consultants that are museum design consultants specifically. And so we're going to engage them, one of the 2, but right now we're trying to decide which design consultant we're going to be utilizing for the interior portion, because our relationship with them is that the city's going to bring the building up to code for us to occupy, and then ACE takes over and designs and, well, for the design operation and also the funding for the interior portion.
And is there part of the collection in storage, or either
Moongate, most of it.
at Moongate? Okay.
Right now, most of it's in storage there. We have probably some off-site storage as well. But I'd like to comment that TEF's been great to work with, and much of this work is, pretty much gone beyond our expectations. So it's been a great relationship. So they've done really good work, and the city continues to fund them extensively as well. So that's very good. We appreciate that.
Okay.
I think it's money well spent.
Hey, Sal.
I want to excuse myself. I have an appointment, and I'm going to be kind of late.
Okay. Yeah, long meeting again
Thank
this
you.
month, huh?
Okay.
And the other comment I have is, and I'll talk to Lindsay about that, is that the 2 previous projects were joint partnerships between Wali Atai and Chin Bao, the 37 and 45, or 34 and 45. That's because Chin Bao was not a citizen, so it required Wallace Atai to be a part of that property ownership. And I'll check and make sure and verify, but I'm pretty sure that the Republic Cafe 3739 was solely a Wallace Atai property.
Oh, thank you.
But I'll check and make sure.
Thank you.
I have a question, because I've noticed that when I've gone to some of the ACE annual things, there has been a noticeably absent presentations about the Atai family. And Lonnie Atai Farkas in 1999 wrote a book about, are you familiar with it? She wrote a book called Burying My Bones in America. And it has a lot of reference to the Atai family that lived there in Salinas, and, old pictures, and just the whole story that goes all the way back to Yi Atai, who was, one of the pioneers in 1849, sort of on the same level as Sutter's Mill. He was, very instrumental in the pioneering. and their whole family has kind of, very large characters in the Chinese American history, such as Charlotte Attai's, Yi Attai's daughter. Her husband was the first Chinese American lawyer. He was granted the bar in New York, but he wasn't granted the bar when he came here to California because of, the 1882, the Chinese Exclusion Act. So I'm just wondering if if you've been in contact with the family to sort of find out what, resources and what things they have to be part of the museum.
Thank you for that comment. We did use that book as a primary source for our research for the Historic Structures Report. And I failed to mention that Gretchen Hilliard was with me last time when we presented out about 38. She also worked on this with me, and I failed to mention that groundwork preservation. So she was very aware of that in the writing of the HSR. We have not yet fully engaged with ACES Museum or under contract to do any of that work with them. As Larry mentioned, we have some exhibit designer proposals coming in. We'll be selecting one with them to move forward with. And then at that time, I will certainly recommend to whoever is chosen that they reach out to the Attais. It's funny, I was just thinking this morning, if there's anyone around from the Attai family, I think they would love to know that, their relatives were considered prominent historical figures such that it makes the building significant for the National Register. That's pretty neat.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's still some, Warren Attai's daughter and son-in-law still live in Salinas.
They might like to see the HSR.
Yeah, he's
and
the one that
read
gave me all the blueprints.
Oh, nice. Thank you for those.
And somewhere in this whole occupation, there's the Wally Attai collection, and we're going to be receiving parts of that, either us or the Monterey County Historical Society.
Great.
So we will consider that as part of the essential part of our display or exhibition.
All right, so if no more comments, I think thank you for coming to present this. It's fascinating, it looks terrific. So we're excited to see it moving forward.
Great. Thank you.
Any other comments from the public about it? Okay. Next would be on the agenda, the 2026 Certificate of Appreciation nominations.
Good afternoon, board members. I'm happy to announce that the 2026 Certificate of Appreciation nominations are now open. I've left a flyer on your guys' chair. The nomination period will run from March 2nd to April 3rd, and we're accepting nominations for individuals and organizations, programs and activities, and also projects. As for public outreach, we will have a call for nominations posting on the city's social medias, hopefully this Friday. And we'll also be distributing flyers to the First Mayor's House, the California Welcome Center, and the Steinbeck House Restaurant. And so, could you go to the survey, please? And so I also shared the survey on how to nominate. So questions asked in the survey are who is nominating, the nominee's phone number, the nominee's email, description of their work, and also 1 to 2 photos or any relevant documents that help support the nomination. So the general process for the application would be to have a complete nomination. A complete nomination must be submitted to the city for the consideration through the Microsoft survey. Staff would review the application for the completeness and prepare a recommendation to the Historic Resources Board. Nominations would be due to the city again April 3rd, and then staff will present recommendations to the board for consideration on May 4th.
With Zeta by Lutron, you'll enjoy all the benefits of smart lighting control.
And then certificates will be distributed following the May 4th meeting. So with that, any questions or comments from the board?
So pretty much as we did last year, we'll be following the same steps, and the deadline is April 3rd. Thank you.
Yes.
And since I think you're helping with the next agenda item, Selena's Art Collection, so
Yes, I will also be talking about the Selena's Art Collection. So I would like to say thank you for your patience while I was trying to get the clarification on whether we did have a Selena's Art Collection. So we do, and it can be found on or at the Library and Community Services website under Recreation and Parks. And if you scroll down, you can see right there, it's Selena's Public Art Story. It's a story map, so you would just click there. And it is open to the public, so anybody from the public can just click on there and see. The collection gets updated with new artwork. It's with new artwork or either also removed artwork pretty frequently, biannually. And yeah, so it has city-owned and privately owned art that's also owned by the city on the website. So that could be found on there too. And when you click on the art, it also shares a small description of the artist. With that, any questions or comments from the board?
right. The exterior artwork in public places and that, I'm sure this is helpful online, but it's more the paintings and etchings and fine art that are unknown to the public, that are in the library, in the city offices and other venues that are unknown, and that's what I'm specifically after. Is there a list of that?
As for that, I am not entirely sure. I would suggest to reach out to Library and Community Services, as they would be the main point of contact. So I would say to reach out to them.
So if you could get back to us regarding that, because that's what the public doesn't know about, and for heritage tourism, it's a tremendous asset to have online. We do have some well-known artists, but no one knows anything about them.
Yeah, I can definitely
Thank you.
get that cleared up.
Okay, so any board members' reports or comments?
Yes, I have a comment that I attended the California Preservation Foundation seminar entitled From Paper to Practice, Building Effective Historic Preservation Ordinances. And so there were a lot of experts in historic preservation. One of them was Sean DeCory. I think maybe you may know him because when you and Larry went to Sacramento for the Chinatown thing. Anyway, he is the historic resources person in Sacramento. And he talked a lot about the Mills Act and how he was able to increase the contracts from 12 to 50. So that was very interesting. And another woman named Jennifer Gates, and she talked about Sonoma, that's her area of expertise. And just how, community engagement is really important to changing the general plan and making it alive for the historic preservation. So I do have the link to it. Lisa sent me the link to the presentation and also the link to the whole seminar, the video. So if any of you want that, I could maybe forward it to you. I haven't opened it myself, but I know the last time we weren't able to see the one about, what's the one that I did, that I attended? That other one, Like for Like. Yeah. Yes, Standard 6. Anyway, she did send me the links. And so if any of you are interested, just give me well, they're 3 hours, but I mean, you don't have to watch this whole thing. But if you're interested, it has really a lot of good information. And also, by the way, there's going to be an intensive discussion about the Mills Act in Riverside in May through the California, so, I don't know if any people are interested in that, but that's just a heads up about that.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? If not, I think our meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Gotta run off to the next meeting.
Thank you.